Welcome back to another week of the RTF Show. We're back. Took a week off last week, uh, but it's good to be back. How you doing, Brother John? Welcome to the show.
Oh, I am happy to be back. A little fall break, a bye week, I guess you could call it. It was good to
Yeah,
it's time to relax. Ahead of the wild sprint to the finish that we're gonna have here. We have
I know.
Thanksgiving coming up too. It's gonna be a very fun end of November, hopefully.
Heading back into divisional play this week. Playoff picture should is starting to become a little bit clearer. We've got a lot to cover. Um, yeah, it was. We haven't missed many weeks this week. We've put out a lot of content. Or this season. I feel like we put out a lot of content this year.
Yeah, it's the 10th show of the season, and I'd have to look back and see, but I think that's probably the, besides the first year, probably the most we've done in the season to this point. You know, since
We
since season one.
we came. We did quite a few. I think 2 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago. I think we hit 12 or 13 episodes.
Yeah,
But yeah, we're on a good pace. We're setting a good clip this year. Um, it's been fun. All right, let's get into it though, because we got a lot to cover. Um, First and foremost, unrelated to the RTFL, there the NFC North, widely touted coming into the year as maybe the toughest division in football. Uh, I don't know if that still rings true, but uh, there's a new team on top in the NFC North, and it's not the Packers, and it's not the Lions, and it's certainly not the Vikings. It's the
nope.
fucking Chicago Bears. Can you believe it?
If you had told me before the season that we'd be in first after week 11, no, I would not. Would you?
No,
If you had told me that we had 7 wins at week 11, I would not have believed that either.
no.
But do we have the greatest fourth quarter quarterback in the league? Yeah, we
I
do.
think we do.
2
Yeah,
minutes
it
left.
is.
Who do you want?
It is pretty incredible, incredible to see. I think coming into the season, I had told folks that I would have been happy. I'd be happy if they got 7 wins this year.
Yep.
And the fact that they've hit that point through week 11 is pretty incredible. So mad props to the painted nail phenom, Caleb Williams. He's not perfect, but he's getting the job done right now.
He's
And
getting better every week.
I will take it. It's an exciting time here in Chicago. I think even the old, not Troy Aikman, but even the old guys are starting to come around.
This
I mean,
Collinsworth, yeah.
for fuck's sake, Tom Brady ranked him 8th in his power rankings this season or this week.
Wow.
We should say, I think he also ranked he put the Chiefs at 5 and did not rank the Colts in the top 10. So,
Yeah.
take it for what it's worth. But the GOAT, recognizing clutch talent when he sees it, I'll take it.
Yep.
All right. In RTFL news, there were some huge games this week that really shook up the playoff picture. You know what? Actually, before we get into some of those games, because we'll transition from that into what the playoff picture looks like currently. We had we missed last week, so we did not get to update folks on a couple things that happened. But we've had a few one season long contest end, and we also had a prize week in week 10. Let's start with the prize week. What was the outcome of the prize week, John?
The RTFL Pick'em, we had 10 responses. I believe 10 sat this one out, and who else set this one out? Who else didn't respond? I should have looked this
I
up.
don't know.
I think it's Fitz. Fitz also did not play. So Kevin Fitz elected not to play. We ended up having 4 people accurately predict the
3
wins.
people.
3 people accurately predict 4 matchups. Steve, you, and myself each accurately predict 4 matchups. I feel like the conspiracy, as I say that out loud now, I feel like the conspiracy theorists within the league are going to raise a fit that the 2 commissioners that had access to the polls somehow won. But
I will say I would have won outright had I had any faith in myself and picked myself against Doug. But I picked Doug in week 10 to win, thus giving myself only 4 correct.
Yeah, there were some very interesting stats that came out of this. 8 people chose me to win. 2 chose Jake to win. Jake won in week 10. 10 people chose Ken to win. 0 chose Fitz, and Ken won. So everyone got that one right. And then only 3 people chose Steve to win. Well, 7 chose Duncan, and Steve pulled that off. So big upset there. And then only 1 person chose Alec to beat Peter Kramer. I assume that was Alec who chose himself. 9
it was
people
not.
chose Peter.
It was.
Really?
So I'm gonna put this out there. It was me. I chose Alec to beat Peter.
Wow.
I also want to note that Jake, I chose you, buddy, to beat John, securing a point there. Much faith in Say It To Me Santos from the Staleys last week or 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Should have just had some faith in myself.
You should have.
Thus is the story of my existence within the RTFL, which maybe we'll talk about as we go deeper into the playoff picture. So, not sure. 3 people tied. John and I kicked around a couple ideas. Where did we land?
I think what we'll do is when the playoffs are set, Steve, the playoffs are set, and what you can do for the whole league, I guess, if they want to join in, is do a little bracket, and the $25 on the line for the RTFL Pick'em. The winner of the bracket of Steve, myself, or Mike can win the $25. But we could also open it up to everyone else and have everyone submit a bracket. And I don't know, we could do some sort of side bet if anyone wants
side
to
action.
also. Yeah, if anyone wants to throw in whatever $5 or $10 and do that, that'd be pretty fun too. You could also open it up on the losers bracket too. But
I like it. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, we could do that. So to decide that, but definitely open that up to everyone else, at least in the winners bracket, right? And so the other, the season long game we had going was the Island. I was booted in week 10 with 81 points, and so then it came down to Steve and Ken last week. And Steve put up a pretty good fight, 99 points. But Ken taking the high score of the week, putting up, I think, 124, 115, which is a very low league-wide high score, I would say. But that takes it down, so he wins Survivor.
It was the week, or it was a low scoring week. Yeah, it was a low scoring week last week. So Ken winning the Survivor. Congratulations, Ken, all alone on the island.
Just the way we liked it.
That's right. No man is an island except for Ken Hoffman. All right. With that out of the way, we had some pretty big games last week that are going to factor into the playoff picture that we'll talk about here in a second. But let's get to a couple of them. One that I want to start with Peter. Peter goes out, makes a huge splash in the trade market, trades for Chase and trades for Cook, right? Seemingly to basically shore up his chances at a title. And I think coming out of that trade, we said, or at least I said 2 weeks ago, that I thought Peter clearly had the best team in the league, at least the best starting lineup in the league. Puts up in his first game with all those players, puts up 65 points, loses to Fitz, who gets his second win of the year. And Fitz had a good day. Like, it was a decent day, but Peter just an abysmal day from Peter.
Yeah. Yep. He did have the worst manager award given to him in Sleeper. With only putting up 66% of their perfect possible lineup, which would have been 98 points,
Well, I think he had that, and then he also had the lowest projection of his, missing his projection. I think he was projected for double almost what he ended up getting.
Yeah, 123. Yeah, brutal.
So just a brutal game for Peter. And it is, we'll get into where he sits in the playoff picture in a second. But the other big game, I think there were a few other big ones. Doug takes it on the chin against Jake. Another, Jake playing spoiler, Fitz playing spoiler. Doug drops to 7-4. It's not the end of the world for Doug, but I think we agree that his team isn't the strongest team in that division. And despite having, the second, what was the best record in the division coming into the week, and the second best record now, I think that's a win coming into division play that he really could have used.
Yeah, I mean, that's the third win in a row for Jake. So, do we see Jake win out and spoil not just Doug's potential playoffs, but also Kelly's? Does he put you out of first place? Does he make the playoffs? Does he make the playoffs at 7-7?
No, he does not. No, he does not.
He might have the points tiebreaker, to do it. Should he win out and climb that ladder? He does have, he has the second most points in his division.
Yes, he does.
I think probably the fourth or fifth most points overall. I think fifth, maybe, fourth most points overall. If it does come down to that final spot, and it's a 7-7 team, we could see Jake making the playoffs after starting 1-7.
It's gonna be tough for Jake to get there. Especially in maybe I'll eat my words on next week's show. But playing this week, he has Achan on a bye, which I
Yes.
think is gonna hurt his chances this week. So I don't know how realistic it is that Jake wins out. Especially the other big factor, the
Oh, that's
Drake
right.
London injury.
Yeah. That's huge.
So I think it's going to be tough for him to win out. The one thing I will say, and I looked at this right before the show, Jake's saving grace this week, and the thing that could, if I have a bad week, which I've had a few of recently, if I have a bad week, Trayvon Henderson is playing Cincinnati. Cincinnati has given up a ridiculous amount of points to running backs this year. I mean, I think they're the number one points against for running backs this year. So he could go off again. It's been, and that's kind of been the tale of Jake's last couple of weeks since he made that trade. All right, let's get to one other. Let's get to two other games real quick from last week. Kelly.
Yeah. Nailed
Kelly
it.
drops a game that really, I mean, a game she should have won. This was, and a game she needed, I think, to win. This one had to hurt.
Oh yeah. I mean, going into Monday night, it seemed really, really good for her. I thought she had a fairly good shot. She had, I think she was set, right? In terms of her points. And then, Duncan just needed a monster game from George Pickens to have any chance. And George Pickens does what he does.
Yeah.
And ended up fighting through multiple tackles and getting so many yards after a catch, and getting the touchdown, and pulling Duncan over the goal line, and getting that win, which is huge for him in the standings as well, to sort of preserve his shot at the playoffs as well. So
Duncan's not out of it. I mean, that division, and we'll talk about it in a minute, but that division, anything is still up for grabs between Duncan and Alec. It's certainly not over. The other game that happened last week was between you and I, the Rose brothers. And I really thought I had this one wrapped up at a certain point, and I wasn't overly confident, but I did think going into Sunday afternoon after the early games that I had, and I did not have you. It really, I think, just came down to, Rice and Mahomes just didn't do much, which was what helped put you over the edge.
They did not. And then, Christian McCaffrey ended up blowing up. 3 touchdowns is huge. Finally have a true CMC day. I don't think he's had very many of those. And so that was very fortunate, for him to get what I think is only his second, 30-point game, maybe third of the season, especially with Jacob going out. And then, if you look at my lineup here, I think almost every player, save for Brissett and McCaffrey, scored under their projections. So,
Hmm.
I will say I think I had a fairly lucky day, especially with Brissett throwing for 47 of 57, setting the new
I mean,
NFL record.
yeah, he threw for 450 yards. It was it was a big day for him.
Yeah. And I mean,
Um,
47 to 57 is incredible as far as
yes.
the completion percentage, and so that was
Yep.
super exciting to watch that game. But yeah, I needed that win with Doug and Peter both dropping a game there in order for me to kind of keep my playoff chances alive too. I thought this was definitely a do or die moment for me. But the other game I did want to touch on briefly, just calling it out, Ken, I'll give him his flowers here, overcoming the absolute nuclear game of Josh Allen.
Yeah.
His 45 points was incredible.
Yep.
Ken surviving that and getting the win and taking first place in the division was pretty incredible to see. But I don't know. I don't think it's over yet. I don't think our division is the standings are set by any means. Can go either
No,
way. So
I don't think so. And I think, what's going to play into it. So a ton of injuries. Again, injuries all over the place at the moment. We've had, injuries at quarterback, Pickens, Penix, done, right? For the season?
he tore his right ACL. First time he's ever torn
Like
that one, although it's his third ACL injury.
Yes.
Tore his left one twice. I saw something where he's played 8 seasons between, I think it was 8 seasons between college. No, I can't be right.
Between high school and
college and the pros.
Mm-hmm.
And 6
The
of them
end of
have
high school,
ended. Yeah, ended in like season-ending injuries. Like, yeah,
and
which is just crazy.
It's basically been like an ACL and then a shoulder, and then an ACL and then a shoulder, an ACL and then a shoulder, and an ACL. So that's tough. The Rodgers banged up this week. Would love to see the Bears beat Rodgers. Just I'll take whatever win the Bears can get, but it would be that much sweeter to see him out there. And
his wrist is broken, but he could play. So
yeah,
I think it'll be pretty interesting to see if he does go. It's at home for the Bears. And then Gabriel got knocked out in Cleveland, and we saw Shedeur Sanders enter, who looks like he's probably going to get the start again this week, having the worst NFL debut for a quarterback, I think, in terms of passer rating and completion percentage and net yards of all time.
I mean, not terribly surprising for a guy who was a 5th round pick, but only surprising in that he is who he is. I think had it been any other quarterback, and I don't even know if surprising is the right word. Had it been anybody else who was not Deion Sanders' son, it would not have been talked about at all. It would have just been, this unfortunate kid who's a 5th round pick got thrown into a game that he clearly is not prepared to play in.
And like the kick to the nuts of it all is that his house gets robbed while he's playing.
I know. It's a rough day for
insult to injury. But you know what? The Browns do it to themselves. They
Mm-hmm.
had Kenny Pickett and Flacco on their roster
Mm-hmm.
in training camp. I think they dropped Pickett or they traded him, and then they traded Flacco, obviously, several weeks ago. So like the fact that they just were like, yeah, let's turn to Shedeur Sanders as our backup is just sort of a ridiculous.
Yep.
It's like it's so indicative of how that organization is run that they were like, yes, this guy who's clearly not ready, let's make him our backup. Like it makes no sense to me over there, but never has.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll likely see him again next week. But a couple other injuries worth noting: Bryce Young and Jordan Love both exited for a period of time, at least 1 or 2 drives. Ended up
Mhm.
returning, but probably worth noting. And we'll see sort of how that develops. And then a ton of other injuries. Jacobs out. London went out. Warren went out. Ridley, Vidal, Dobbins went to IR. Laporta,
Also on
Garrett
IR now.
Wilson. Yeah. Laporta went to IR. Garrett Wilson is out. And then, some other non-injury related news, but Jamar Chase suspended a game for spitting, but not spitting according to him, because if he would have spit on him, he would have hit him in the face.
Can I tell you my favorite little nugget of, listen up, Packer fans, my favorite little nugget of the Chase drama? Did you see who upheld his suspension and
Oh
denied
yeah,
his appeal?
Jordy Nelson.
That's right, Peter. You've been betrayed by your beloved Jordy Nelson. Betrayed you and your fantasy football hopes and dreams. Jordy Nelson denies Jamar Chase's appeal for suspension.
That's
Just
hilarious.
brutal.
Yep. Yeah, totally.
Uh,
And then, I thought he was gonna make like a short person joke, like because Ramsey's kind of short. So I
mhm.
thought like he was gonna say no, like if I was gonna spit on it, like I was just trying to spit to the ground, but Ramsey's so short that like he was in the line of fire because he's just down, But um, Coleman on the Bills was a healthy scratch. Sounds like he's gonna be a
He
healthy scratch
will be
again this week.
again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then the
Uh,
other big one is news is Burrow practiced today. Do you think he's coming back this week?
I don't think he's coming back this week. I think we see him next week. I think especially with Chase out, and with Cincinnati. I mean, at this point, it's kind of, should he even bother to come back? I'm sure he's itching to play, just given the history of injuries. But I, Cincinnati isn't making the. I don't see a way that Cincinnati is making the playoffs this
They're
year.
3-7.
Hmm.
It would certainly be tough for them to
I
make the
mean,
playoffs, right?
I yes, I think had they won, one of their last 2 games, had they beaten the Bears, I think if they were 4-6, maybe there's more pressure for him to try and get back sooner. But I just don't. I don't know. I don't know why you rush it if you're Cincinnati.
It's really hard looking at like the rest of the AFC. I mean, I think I just saw like 3 of the 4 divisions have teams that have 5 or less losses
Hmm.
going into week 12. And so, it'd be a steep climb and they would need a lot of teams. Right now they're 12th in the AFC, right? So,
Yeah,
I mean, they're sitting behind the Dolphins, who are 4-7, and then the Ravens, Chiefs, and Texans, who are not
and
in the
that
playoffs right now. They're not even in
yeah,
the playoffs. The Ravens, Chiefs, and the Texans are not in the playoffs, and so they'd have to climb that ladder, which I think would be really tough.
I mean, the Ravens, Chiefs, and the Texans are not in the playoffs, and on top of that, their Cincinnati is what, two games behind both of them, at least 2 games
Yes.
behind both of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, the 2 games. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, even if you factor in, the Jags, I think I don't believe in that in Jacksonville. I think the Jags are a fraud. And the Colts might be a fraud too, but at 8-2, the Colts are going to make the playoffs. So I don't really see anyway. So with that said, it'll be interesting to see what that does to Chase and Higgins and that offense, for people around the league. Obviously, Peter, and let's hit the waiver wire real quick. There was only one real big move on the waiver wire this week, and you got it. The Emmanuel Wilson bidding war that happened.
Yeah, I felt like I had to do it, right? If Jacobs is out, Emmanuel Wilson got, I think, like 95% of the carries post Jacobs leaving, right? I think Chris Brooks had like 1 carry after that. I honestly didn't think I was going to get it. I did not think that $33 was going to be enough, looking at other people's waiver money left that need running backs, right? I thought maybe Ken would make a move, although he doesn't really need it. But I think like if Jacobs is going to be out, Emmanuel Wilson is obviously better than Mason and Spears at least, right? But really, I thought a move from Alec or Duncan was going to happen to try to shore up their running back situation, and they had so much more money than me, and so
I
they
think
didn't
Duncan,
bid. So
I mean, Alec did not bid. Duncan, I think, underestimated the desperation that you and Doug are facing.
That's true.
The team that I was initially surprised at not having realized his situation was Steve, but I did not realize that Steve only had $6 in waiver cash left.
That's why I knew I had to go above certain people, but I knew that I couldn't outbid. Like if one of those guys really wanted it, I knew that they would get it, but I made sure to go above Doug. And then, I definitely wanted to leave myself like at least some money to make moves, pick up kickers or defenses as needed. But hopefully I don't need him, but he's on my bench now. So it definitely puts Doug in a bind this week, which I'm happy about.
Well, let's move into this week. So this week, we move back into division play, and I think it's fair to say I don't want to start with your division because I think it's fair to say both of the games in your division are huge games. I want to drop down to the peanut division first. So Duncan is playing Josh. Alec is playing Brendan. Alec needs, I think, Warren to play. I'm not really confident in any of his other running backs to get him points. So it's going to hurt if Warren can't get out there this week for him.
I mean, they did say that Warren could have returned that last game, but Gainwell was obviously playing really well, and so they just held him out, which is also kind of concerning at the same time, right? It's that he could have returned, but they were like, Gainwell's doing pretty well. Let's just ride him. And then does that continue into week 12 and cut down on Jalen Warren's potential?
Yeah, I mean, which is possible. I mean, Warren has been really quietly been very good this year. He's been a really solid RB2 this year. His numbers aren't like flashy or overly impressive. But he's only gotten 3 touchdowns on the year. So, and 2 of them came in the same game. So he's held together a perfectly fine season, mostly, in the way that he's done it before. He's had some big receiving games, and has, gotten the majority of the touches in the backfield. So I don't think they completely go away from Warren. I think they like him there. I thought he got paid too this offseason, if I remember correctly. So I think they keep him around and involved in the backfield. But yeah, I could definitely see Gainwell getting more action. But I also, to speak to Gainwell, I feel like we've seen Gainwell. Gainwell's been around for a while.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've seen him have stretches where he was the guy, didn't we, in Philly?
He's had some
period
games.
of time where someone was hurt and he took over the backfield for a minute. I don't know. Maybe I'm misremembering this, but my memory of him isn't ever, when he's gotten a lot of chances, him doing very much with it. But that memory might be flawed.
No, I agree. I think his upside's limited, and so I expect if Warren can go, then they will lean on him. I think the thing with Alex's team is, he has a lot of dart throws, on his bench, right? He has guys like Kamara who's coming out of a bye. He had 22 carries in week 10. Will they go back to leaning on Kamara? And is he worth a dart throw in your either as if Warren doesn't go, or as in your flex spot? He's only got 1 touchdown on the season, which is so unlike him. And then you've got guys like Jacoby Myers and Jerry Jeudy who have had some up and down weeks. And then you've also got Pacheco on your bench, right? Who has not seen a ton of work, but is back in practice after injury. And so do they go back to him against Indiana? It's hard. I think that there's, I think he's got some tough decisions to make, and it is a big game. Now he's slated to win pretty handedly at the moment, but there's definitely a possibility where Fitz,
I don't think. Yeah, I don't think this game is a sure thing at all for Alec. And if we jump over to Duncan, this is obviously a big game for Duncan as well. Duncan would be the beneficiary of Warren not going, having Kenneth Gainwell on his team. I don't know in terms of Bam Knight. I don't know what Bam Knight's injury is. I assume it's not that serious. He practiced in some fashion today, but it seems to me that Benson is probably not coming back this week. So I would count on Bam Knight still getting the start.
Yes. Yeah, I think that did they designate him to return? I believe they did.
I thought they had, yeah.
Yeah, they did designate Benson to return, but I could see them still holding out a week,
Mhm.
another week, and so you could see Knight, get first team carries. Obviously, if Gainwell doesn't go, then you're looking at, if let's say Warren goes, right, and let's say he does that. Do you put in Brian Robinson? Uh, to potentially bank on a touchdown run and get those points. You know, two of the last three games, he did have a touchdown going in. They're playing Carolina, who is not a very good run defense. You could see that game get out of hand quickly and CMC get pulled, or sort of you see Robinson get more carries than he normally would. But of course, that's a Monday night game too, so I don't know. I think it's a very Duncan's in a tough spot right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't make many changes to my lineup for Duncan. I think I'd roll with Gainwell, even if Warren plays. You're probably going to roll with Gainwell. Just you assume that Warren doesn't get as many reps as he normally would have, being banged up, and you see I mean. It's going to all hinge for Duncan. It's all going to hinge on Pickens and
You back up. Yeah.
yeah. So
Question: do you play if Coleman is out for the second week, right? Oh wait, no, never mind. Matt Collins is now on the Patriots anyway. Do you play Matt Collins or do you play who's Josh Downs?
I'd probably run Matt Collins out there.
You think
And
so? I mean, bad
yeah,
last game for Josh Downs. Fairly good games the last two games for the two previous games in 8 and 9 for Josh Downs. 9,
I mean,
he's averaging he gets 7, 8, 9 targets in a lot of his games. So
he has just been so inconsistent, and I don't know. Maybe this is a big game against Kansas City for them, and it's a big game for Kansas City. I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any means, and so I think the Colts are going to have to throw the ball. So maybe the opportunities are there for him, but at the same time, um, I mean, Cincinnati's defense is just so bad, like comically bad. And Collins is getting a lot of reps recently too. I mean, he's out there more now than he was in the beginning of the season. He's getting more targets now than he has been. I probably it's a coin flip. I think basically, it's hard to
no,
predict.
I don't. I don't disagree with you. Matt Collins is a kind of a weird dude, though. Have you he doesn't wear shoes anywhere but essentially on the field or practice. He goes barefoot. Everywhere else, he goes barefoot. Like he walks like barefoot into the stadium. He's one of those guys that's just like always barefoot.
That
Kind of
is
weirds me out.
that is weird.
Spending most of his time in Buffalo and he's walking around barefoot. I mean, maybe he knows something that I don't, but um, I don't know. I don't know if I trust him. Right? That's kind of my thing.
I mean, I don't know that I trust. Yeah, well, certainly. The no shoes thing is pretty weird. There's
Also,
a
dear
guy.
Lord, Matt Collins is 32 years old.
I mean, he's been around forever. You know, like, and that's why you're not like neither of the. You're basically for both of these guys hoping one of them scores a touchdown. That's about it.
Who thought?
I don't know how much you're expecting from either of them. So I think for Duncan, it's really just going to come down to he's got 2 top 10 wide receivers. And it's going to come down to those 2 guys performing. And if they perform, I think Duncan can take this game. If they don't, it's going to be a lot harder for him to do so. But I mean, this week is probably this week could end the division race for Duncan if he loses and Alec wins. And I think, if that's what happens, I think Alec is going to win the division. He'll be 2 games up. I don't know that there's much coming back from there for Duncan. But I hope they both win. I hope this goes down to the wire, or
So if Duncan wins and Alec loses, they'll both be 6-6. They play next week, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so one will be 7-6 and the other will be 6-7. Now, in theory, they could both end up 7-7. At which point, then it would come down to points, and they are within 2 points of points scored for each other. So, this could end up being the tightest division race that we've ever seen here. And so,
it could get
I don't think even if Alec wins and Duncan loses, there is still an opportunity here for Duncan to win. If he wins out and Alec loses out, then they would be, looking at points, which would be pretty exciting. So I think that, we're going to have to wait and see here.
All right, let's move up let's hit the one game that I think matters in the sweetness division. It's a big game. And I'm talking, of course, about me kicking Jake's ass this week.
Oh my God.
No, I'm not.
I don't think so. I mean, if you lose,
I don't want to spend any time on that game. I'm talking, of course, about Steve versus Kelly. Both teams sitting at 6-5.
Yeah.
Both teams. Steve is in the playoff picture right now. He is about 4 points ahead of Kelly.
Yeah, let's can you pull up the playoff picture for real quick?
Yes.
Right there. I think it's really good to set the stage here. You and Ken have buys at the moment. And then it would come down to Doug with the 3 seed and no, is that right? No, Doug with the 4 seed, myself with the 5 seed.
No, Doug with the 3 seed.
No.
Right?
No, I think Alec has the 3 seed.
Oh, you're right.
Steve has
Alec
the 6
is
seed. Doug has the 4. No, Doug has the 5 seed, I believe. No, 4 seed. And then I have the 5 seed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. 4 seed, 5 seed, and then Steve with the 6 seed, taking out Kelly, and then she would have the 7 seed, and I believe Peter has the 8th seed. So
things have become much, much closer than I think I anticipated. And one of the wrinkles that kind of gets thrown in here, well, there's 2 wrinkles actually, because I think earlier in the season when we were projecting out the playoff picture, we had kind of counted Steve out. He was sitting a little bit on the outside, so we kind of counted Steve out He was in this weird position with his team. And then, we had sort of made this assessment that there was only going to be one team from the peanut division. And it is entirely possible at the moment that it's going to be harder, but it is possible at the moment that not only is it possible that both Duncan and Alec end up 7-7, it's possible they both end up 8-6, depending on the outcome of these games. And those records, while they both have less points than anybody in the Papa Bear division, those records would get them into the playoffs possibly. And the same goes for Steve and Kelly. So we have way more teams on the fringe of the playoff picture than I think we had initially anticipated having. The playoff picture at the moment really only excludes Jake and Fitz and Josh. There are 9 teams, I think, vying for 6 slots at the moment.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, Steve, I believe it was around week 7 or week 8 that he changed his team name to the Disruptor. And at that point, he has won 3 of the last 4 games. Truly disrupting, many people's playoff chances. Jake also changing his name and going on a bit of a tear, winning the last 3 games. Yes, your division has kind of upended some of this playoff picture and has only muddied it further. But going back to, this week's game, Kelly versus Steve, this is a huge matchup. And one that I think is going to be pretty, hopefully very high scoring. We don't have many players on bye for them. The only really impactful player that's on bye could be, RJ Harvey for Steve. Otherwise, we're seeing, fully healthy teams. And
well, I'm gonna stop you there. I think there's one issue for Steve, and the issue that I see popping up for Steve. It is still tough looking over Steve's team and believing that he is 6-5 and on the cusp of making the playoffs with this. Right, not on the cusp. He's in the playoffs right now. If the season ended today, with this roster, but the Tootin injury is something I would watch, because with RJ Harvey out, especially now that Dobbins is on IR, RJ Harvey is going to be a big part of Steve's team going forward, I would imagine. And with Swift back and healthy for the Bears, Monungai takes a hit. You're basically hoping Monungai can find the end zone in a game. Algier has been that way the entire season. You've basically been hoping he can find the end zone in a game. Tootin played, he looked amazing last week. Like I watched him, he looked great. And so I think ETN has been good this year, and especially the last few weeks, he's been very good. But that they're playing Arizona, right? The Arizona defense is gettable. I think they're 9th or 10th in the most points allowed to running backs this season. They're definitely gettable. And so it could certainly be a game where both ETN and Tootin eat. And so I think it would be very helpful for Steve to have him in there. So that's the one injury I think that I would keep an eye on for Steve.
For sure. Yeah, I think that's possible. CMC carved them up, and obviously CMC is CMC, but CMC carved up Arizona's defense last week. So, I think there's still potential here though for him. I think having Drake May, Aaron Jones is back healthy again, and kind of unquestionably leads that backfield. They're playing Green Bay. And I feel like historically, Aaron Jones has done pretty well against Green Bay. If we go back, in the last year, since he's been on the Vikings, they feed him the ball when he's playing Green Bay. But
I think you're right, but that Green Bay defense is,
it was pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad against the run.
We'll see. I think Nico Collins is playing Thursday night against Buffalo. So I think that'll sort of set the tone for the week.
Yep,
and we'll see.
Yeah.
But going over to Kelly's side, you've got Barkley playing Dallas. You've got Derrick Henry playing the Jets. Michael Wilson went off last week, and it doesn't seem like Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to play this week because he's got appendicitis. And I'm butthurt about that. Fuck.
I will say, as somebody who has had appendicitis and had their appendix removed, the idea of playing football at the level that they're playing it at, granted, I am nowhere near in the type of peak physical shape that I'm sure Marvin Harrison Jr. is in, but the idea of playing football 2 weeks after that seems absolutely ludicrous to me, that you would be ready to go out there and do that. But
I know. Unfortunate. So, Kelly is also primed for a solid comeback game. Kyron Williams is playing Tampa Bay, which is not easy by any means, but should be a very good game. She seems to have a lot of Tampa Bay and the Eagles on her team. It's mostly just Buccaneers and Eagles players. But I think she obviously, she's hungry for a win too. It's been a bit of a slide recently for her. And so, I think Steve has an uphill battle here for sure. But
I mean, looking at the rosters, Kelly should win this game. But I think we've said the same. We've said that about Kelly all season, and I think we've said that about Steve. Predicted Steve to lose all season. So I don't know what is going to happen. I mean, Drake May could carve up Cincinnati for 40 points. Who fucking knows? It's going to be. It's going to be a wild one, but I think it'll be. It depends.
It'll be very good. I think it'll be a very good game. We also have to remember
this game is going to have a real leg up moving forward, and it's going to be hard for the other team to make the playoffs. I think.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that. I also think we have to remember that we are entering the Yeti season. We are entering Derrick Henry prime season. And, we saw him have a very good game last week at 21 points. But prior to that, we hadn't seen a real Derrick Henry game, right? He's only hit 100+ yards in 4 games this season. Carries are up for sure, but we have not seen him really sort of lay the hammer on teams since I would argue the first week of the season, right? Like,
Mhm.
first week of the season, he puts up 160 plus yards and 2 touchdowns. We haven't seen real Derrick Henry since then. And, we always say, wait till it gets cold. And, it's fucking cold. It snowed in Chicago last week. It's
Mhm.
cold in Portland right now. I can only imagine what's going on in Baltimore. I think, we could end up seeing a 30-point game from Derrick Henry. And, if that happens, then, I think Kelly's in really good shape. So,
I agree. She needs that game to come this week. Though
yeah,
you want to see it this
yes.
week.
Yeah.
But she's got great matchups for her two kind of premier players. So if I had to make a prediction, I would certainly predict that Kelly wins this matchup.
Yep. Yeah, 100%.
Let's briefly touch on the Papa Bear division, and I think we'll probably get deeper into it next week, as I know, we'll get some clarity as to where we're at next week within your division. Which game do you want to focus on within the Papa Bear division?
You know what? Let's go Doug and myself real quick, and then
Okay.
over
So
to Peter and Ken. Let's end on Peter and Ken here.
okay. So you and Doug play each other. You picked up a big win this week, and I think that or this past week, I think that sort of changes the outlook for your team a bit. But Doug, despite sitting at 7-4, Doug's team feels like it's in a bit of a precarious place, and I think he needs a win here.
Yeah, and I catch him on a tough week, right, for him
Mhm.
with
Mhm.
the Dolphins out and the Chargers on bye, right? So,
Yep.
he loses Waddle, he loses Herbert, and he's now ends up starting Flacco and Iosova. So, I think that's really tough for him. Then obviously, having to start Montgomery and Pearsall just has not seemed to kind of fallen back into place since his injury. He's only had one game, but I think he's in a tough spot. So we'll see. I feel okay. Obviously, if Jacobs doesn't go, then I'm feeling less great about it. But as of right now, I think I like my chances. But obviously anything can
Yeah,
happen. Anything can happen.
I, I like your chances as well. Certainly, I think you've got to like up there. Burrow racing back could really fuck Doug if Burrow ended up trying to play this week. I don't see that happening, but that would be a real.
I was texting with Doug earlier. He was not happy with my Emmanuel Wilson pickup.
I'm
Honestly,
sure.
he sent me a little text. And then I sent him the news that Burrow was practicing. So
Yeah.
it certainly could upend his quarterback situation pretty handedly. And, I haven't looked at the waivers to see who is available at quarterback for him to pick up. Of course, there's probably plenty of streamers that he could go with. Bryce Young, Kirk Cousins, JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, that would be very, very
Yeah,
tough.
just close your eyes and start clicking. But yeah, I think like this matchup, obviously it doesn't sink Doug either, right? If Doug loses here, I don't think that sinks him in terms of
No,
making the
not at all.
playoffs. But then he's got to go out and win against Ken, and then likely have to win against Peter, which despite Peter's injuries of late, which we could probably turn to that game,
I'll just say real quick. I think the one thing that could help Doug this week, the one area that I see him possibly getting a big leg up is from McBride. So McBride, I just want to note, tight end basically doesn't matter this year unless you have McBride. Actually, Kelsey, I think, is sitting at number 2 right now in terms of total points for tight ends. Kelsey is closer in points, total points on the season, to the number 25 tight end than he is to McBride. McBride is that, I think he's 40 points ahead in terms of total points.
That's a hell of a stat.
Anybody else. So the other thing I'll say about that is McBride plays Jacksonville, who is giving up more points to tight ends this season than just about anybody else. So it could be a real, and with Marvin Harrison Jr. out, this could be a huge game for McBride. So that is one thing that could kind of buoy Doug's chances here.
I mean, Jesus, he hasn't seen less than 11 targets before, He hasn't seen less than 11 targets in the last 7 of 8 games. That's crazy.
Yeah. All right. So let's move to the next game. Peter and Ken. I mean, it's a must-win week for Pete. He needs this one. I think they're all must-win weeks probably for Pete moving forward. And the Jamar Chase thing is just absolutely brutal. Just brutal.
It is. And the tough part for Peter right now is that he has the 3rd highest projected score on the week as of right now, with lineups as they are currently set. He's the 3rd highest projected score behind Ken and yourself. And so he's got a tough battle for sure. But I think his roster still stacks up, right? I don't think that there's hard to point to a real weak spot, outside of maybe tight end, but obviously with London out, hopefully Pitts gets a boost. Ken Walker should be getting more touches, as they said. I'm surprised, he has Stafford in over Lamar at this point. I don't know what.
Is it injury? Is it injury related? Maybe.
Must be, or he just hasn't updated his lineup yet from.
That's possible.
Last week, I don't know why he would. Yeah, but I don't know why he would not play Lamar. But
I would imagine Lamar gets put into his lineup. Yeah.
So with that,
That said, Matt Stafford has been lighting it up this year.
Yeah, I mean, there's MVP talks, right?
Yeah, I mean, Stafford's been great. So, I mean, he just threw 5 fucking touchdowns a few weeks ago. He's thrown 5, 4, 4 in the last, excluding last week. So, in a game last week that I don't think he really needed to. Well, no, he did need to, but I don't know. Stafford's been fine, but I would imagine he plays Lamar over Stafford. I guess we'll see. The only other spot, I mean, Judkins, that Cleveland team is just so fucking bad. And they're going to play from behind. It's going to be I mean, they're playing Las Vegas, who's also pretty fucking bad. Although Las Vegas also beat the Patriots, so it's it's hard to a lot of parity this year in the NFL. It's hard to project this out, but I, I don't know. If I'm Pete, I'm a little worried about Judkins.
Yeah, I think that could be the weak spot on his team for sure. But if you're going up against, Brees Hall has not been anything special, so
No,
you're going
not
to
at all.
cede points. You could cede points there. James Cook has been very good, so you could see Cook, maybe matching Gibbs in production. And then, it comes down to wide receivers. And I think Peter, I mean, even with Chase out, putting Nakua and Amon-Ra St. Brown against JSN, and, despite Ted McMillan's, incredible production last week, I think Peter has a really good shot at pulling out a win here. And that's not just me, hoping Ken loses for the sake of, my chances of moving up in the standings by the end of the season. But I think, the Peter is still there.
I totally agree. Yeah, I don't think this is not by any means a sure thing for Ken. And I think if you looked, or I think if we checked back, the win percentage thing or the projections, I don't think, especially with Stafford in there instead of Lamar, probably tell a little bit of a different story. I think this is going to be a much closer matchup, or at least on paper, it is a much closer matchup than the projections would have you believe at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be exciting. I think I imagine we'll be no closer next week to predicting the playoffs than we are this week.
I don't think we will be. All right. Yeah, it's things have gotten complicated.
Yep.
It's complicated. All right. Well, next week, Thanksgiving. So John, what do you hope to be giving thanks for next week?
That the Bears are still the sole leaders of the NFC North.
That's right. Yeah, 100%.
I'm going to be giving a little thanks to Ben Johnson, and that's what I'm going to be giving thanks to.
Me too.
Yeah.
Good, better, best, baby. Let's do it.
Never let it rest. Not till your good gets better and your better gets best.
I will say those. I'm sure you watch them too. The post game game ball videos.
I show them to Arlo every week.
Oh my god, they're so great.
This is going to be your future. This is who you're going to be watching coach the Bears the rest of your life.
I told myself I wasn't going to get that hyped before the season, but I'm not gonna lie. I'm fucking hyped right now. So
never let it rest. So your good gets better, your better gets best.
All right. All right. For John, this has been the Rose Tackle Football Show.
Bears on 3. 1, 2, 3. Bears.